We're back at it with Park Place. They report Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii maligned as Nazi and Chud for questioning gender ideology being required for Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. Yeah, some people really love watering words down, don't they? At this point, there's a whole entire long list. So they say, during an interview at Tokyo Game Show alongside former Weekly Shonen Jump editor-in-chief Kazuhiko Torishima, Horii was asked about the changes made to the character designs in Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, and specifically why more clothing was added to Jenna Sharp, the female hero in the game. As translated by Valuate News, Horii responded, "Yeah, there were various regulations in place. Apparently, it's not allowed to show too much skin." He then added, I really don't understand that either. If there's too much exposure, the age rating goes up. It means we won't be able to sell it as an all-ages product." When asked about complying with various countries' regulations, Torishima chimed in, saying, "Under the name of compliance, it's like an absolute god, an evil disguised as good. There's no such thing as content that doesn't make everyone uncomfortable because beauty and ugliness, good and evil, are different for everyone. There are a few things that absolutely must not be done. As long as you follow those, you're free to do the rest," he added. Next, he stated, "There's a religious concept from the West, especially in America, that influences their approach to sex education, right? Their approach to compliance is really narrow-minded. When selling manga in America, everything had to be categorized by age groups. For Shonen Jump manga, they couldn't be sold unless they were rated for ages 13 and up, because there's a risk of lawsuits. The company also has to get insurance. Doing business with such a ridiculous country is really frustrating. Because of that, Japan gets negatively influenced." Horii then addressed the removal of the choice to choose between male and female, saying, "In Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between a male and female main character, but now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. We have to label them as Type 1 and Type 2. I really wonder who's even complaining about this." Yeah, so it's actually hilarious how that sort of rhetoric completely collapses in on itself when you realize how hypocritical it is. For example, it only solidifies gender norms. And using Type 1 and Type 2 is also just dehumanizing. This questioning of the insertion of gender ideology into the character select for the game has brought the ire of activists who are labeling Horii a Nazi, and we got an example of that right here. This person got 30 likes on their tweet, but over 353 quote tweets. So it does seem like most people are presumably disagreeing with the take. Let's hop over and take a further look for ourselves real quick before we get right back to the article. This response, for example, got 795 likes, and then the OP went and locked the responses. However, of course, we can still see some more quote tweets. Rightfully getting upset that one of your most notable works is getting altered the same year the artist that's been with the IP since day one kicked the bucket. Going Nazi. This response posting the part of the interview where it was said, "Doing business with such a ridiculous country is really frustrating," and that response got over 8,100 likes. Can we stop using Nazi as a replacement for people we don't like? It kills the meaning of the term. I'm sorry, but being anti-censorship is definitely not definitionally a Nazi. Dude hasn't said anything that could be classified as Nazism, so please just stop. Yeah, once again, it's very odd how some people out there love watering down words. We'll take a look at one more response here, this one also with 8,000 plus likes, saying, "How on earth do you call the creator of frickin' Dragon Quest a Nazi just because he doesn't share the same stance on censorship as you do? Western Dragon Quest fans are insane." I'd say that they're cool, it's just that there's some very odd extremist type people out there who seem to love invading almost every hobby. The person accusing Horii would actually respond to the OP's tweet that we just read, talking about how the censorship has existed since 2012 and was because of Sero, to which the OP says, "Okay, so how does any of that make the creator of the series a Nazi?" And that person then saying, "Siding with culture war tourists is never a good thing." You know, we actually saw a similar thing going on here, as we did from Paul Tassi the other day in his article about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows, where he was dismissing all of the very reasonable criticism that people have towards Ubisoft, and in particular Japanese people towards AC Shadows, as just culture war stuff. And the way he minimized the issues in such a way was actually only propagating the culture war, because he was turning something that really shouldn't have to do with the culture war at all. It should just have to do with a corrupt corporation being criticized, and he's the one making it into a culture war issue. And in my opinion, the tweet that we just read is basically doing a similar sort of thing. The OP would respond here saying he's not siding with anyone. He finds the censorship he needs to do just to release the game in his home country weird. Also, the fact that the US is having him make changes as well is just him stating something factual. Back at the article, they would show another example of a response that person got, this one saying, "Yukio, what in the blue blazes are you on about? How does that make him Hitler?" To which they say, pretty much welcoming culture war tourists who tend to be Nazis. Later on, that person would actually admit that they haven't even watched the video, aka the interview, but hey, they'll go on and gladly accuse him of all the stuff that they did. Certain types of Redditors would also get upset at the interview as well, leaving comments like, "No surprise people associated with Toriyama would be this chuddy." And every time I see something new from the dinosaurs in charge of DQ, I get happy that I don't like DQ, that being Dragon Quest, easily the worst of the remaining JRPG franchises to me. Because he called out censorship, because he pointed out some issues with using Type A and Type B, or Type 1 and 2, whatever the heck they're calling it. Like, okay. Awesome Dragon Quest Facts would also provide a compilation of angry quote-unquote fans, right? Saying, as expected, Dragon Quest fans are already turning on Hori and trying to paint him as some kind of extremist because he doesn't want his own game to be censored. I've seen people the past few days calling him a Nazi, a chud, wishing for his death, etc., all because he spoke up. One of the most liked responses to that tweet is this one here that reads, "Let's be real here. Assuming these are people that liked and played Dragon Quest games before, they are not upset that he expressed that he didn't want his games to be censored. They're angry because they're petty, tribalistic nitwits, and Hori handed animation to people they hate. They can never admit when the other side has a point, can never admit when somebody on their side does something wrong. In their minds, they're good, so the other side must be evil. As such, expressing empathy towards the other side or having an opinion that differs from their own is inexcusable. Never mind that even a broken clock is right twice a day. No, they're not even willing to concede that much." This response to that tweet is actually pretty funny. It says, "Are they even for real? Most people I meet have political opinions all over the place and aren't married too much to ideology as an identity. These people, on the other hand, maybe they're just always online, so I haven't seen them anywhere else." Yeah, I've experienced similar stuff. When I talk to people in real life about politics, often, no matter what side they're on, they're so much more nuanced and think so much more critically about things than certain parts of like Twitter and Reddit. Which is also really funny because a lot of those terminally online people claim to be the most critical thinkers of them all, and then it's like just zero critical thinking. We'll take a look at a few more responses to Dragon Quest Facts tweet here. This one, for example, saying, "This is exactly how these types treat everyone. I simply told one of them I don't like SBI, and they started trying to body shame me and invalidate me as a person. Oh yeah, how dare anyone criticize the corrupt corpos over at SBI? We can't have that." This one saying, "If Reddit consensus counted for something, Hogwarts Legacy would have failed, Concord would be huge, and the Acolyte would have been renewed." And then we got this one reading, "Those are not fans. Those are tourists, and they know that their gaslighting isn't working anymore, so they lash out in anger. I've never played Dragon Quest, and even I find it disrespectful how they had to change Akira Toriyama's designs, which were already iconic as they were." So yeah, I'll leave it there. That is the summary of the parts of the interview that some people are very angry about. Let me know what you think about that stuff in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.